About 2 weeks ago, we told you about Deputy Todd Nelson. Police say he was stabbed during a violent confrontation with a man on the interstate. He was also shot in the legs when his fellow officers shot and killed the suspect to try to save the deputy's life. Now, yesterday, Deputy Nelson was able to leave the hospital with his family by his side, his medical team giving him a round of applause. Nelson has a long recovery ahead of him, but the fact that he was able to leave St. Alphonsus and go to inpatient rehabilitation, that is a huge milestone for his recovery. So many Ada County Sheriff's Office deputies, employees were there, and they were joined by Ada County paramedics, police officers, and firefighters from all over the Treasure Valley. As he left, Deputy Nelson drove by dozens of law enforcement officers and firefighters lining the sidewalks for him. It was so emotional, really touching to see, and we wish him all the best as he continues to recover.
I appreciate you being here. It's been a pleasure to get to know your family. But how did we meet, by the way?
So, gosh, I think it was in somewhere around February of last year. My daughter, we get a frantic call. She is at cheer, and
this is your oldest daughter?
Yeah, she's.
You have 3 children?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Tatum's 10, Bryce is 8, and then our little one is 3, Blake. So the gym is calling us frantically. They've called me. They've called Bree. We both missed it, and then I think somebody else, and they're like, "Hey, Tatum's being rushed home. She just had 4 teeth knocked out." And we were like, "What are you talking about? This is cheer. Like, how do you get 4 teeth knocked out?" And my mind just starts racing because of my teeth and how traumatic it's going to be for her. And because we're talking adult teeth for her. So I was like, oh my goodness. And she comes home in shambles, and her front tooth is chipped in half. I think the next one is pretty much chipped in half. And then 2 others are chipped pretty bad. And I've already gone through my incident, so I'm already like PTSD to the max, and I can't handle anymore, and I kind of break down, and Bree's like, "It's gonna be okay," and I'm like, "No, it's not." She starts calling dentists like crazy, trying to figure out who's the best, like calling friends frantically. Anyways, she gets your number. You take her call, I think at like 10 o'clock at night, and it was super sweet. What we remember is like, "Look, I see a lot of people. You'll probably have to just retell me the story in the morning and such. But you remembered and gave my daughter a beautiful smile. And my wife and I hadn't found a dentist yet either. So we're like, well, we found our home." And so we both do our just basic cleaning. And I think I got Marjorie, and she is just like, "Oh, you are a special little case." And I go, "Yeah." I start to go into what happened basically. So,
let's pause there. Let's go back to your daughter. I remember your daughter I loved your family.
Yeah.
Your wife, I remember sitting there with your daughter. She was super scared.
Yeah.
And I have a special place in my heart for phobic patients, because that's who I was as a kid.
Right.
And so in seeing her, and she was, what I love about kids like her is that she was so frightened.
Yeah.
But yet she had a ton of courage and was willing to be able to do what needed to be done, because she knew that.
Yeah.
And then I think I was talking to your wife, and she told me briefly about your incident.
Yes, probably.
Which we are going to go in deep depth about that, if that's okay.
Yes.
And so she told me a little bit about you, and I think I said, "I want to meet him."
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think you came in for a cleaning.
Right.
But let's go back. Let's go back a little bit.
Yeah.
We, on the truck ride over here, you told me some things I didn't know about you.
Yeah.
You had 2 tours in Iraq.
Yeah, I did.
I mean this because I really do feel it. I have a deep respect for the military and the men and women in blue. I feel like you truly do make our country safe, and I feel an indebtedness to men like you.
Appreciate
and women like you. So just right off the bat. I really, really do. But you did 2 tours in Iraq.
I did, yeah.
You said that it was a little bit of a difficult time.
Yeah, definitely with the first one. It was a very long deployment. It started in November of 2005 and went all the way until April of 07. So, yeah, it was
Okay.
a long haul.
And I'm sure you saw some things that you'd just as soon forget.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I try to do is just suppress everything and push it all away. So there was we had kind of spoke in the car briefly, like I said, there was like no mental health, like help at that time. It was pretty fresh and new. And so you kind of just, swallowed it up and put it away. So,
I think even to myself back, and that's not that long ago, I used to think therapy was like, it was just for the weak.
yeah. And that's kind of how I felt. And I didn't go until actually, funny as it sounds, a month before my incident here in Idaho. I was going to emergency response health clinic for just a regular physical. Probably hadn't had one in 10 years. And the nurse practitioner was like, I think you're suffering from PTSD. I just like kind of laughed and you're crazy, and she's like, well, I'm going to sign you up to go and see this woman. I've had a few other cops and they really take a liking to her and they feel comfortable enough to go back. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. And I remember sitting in the parking lot that day and thinking to myself, nope, I'm not going to go. And I said, no, I'm going to just try one session and stuff. And like I said, I think I went 3 times and then my incident happened, but it just opened up my light opened it up to me how badly I was hurting.
Yeah. And everybody has some trauma in their lives. I used to think, again, just man up. So what's wrong with you? I've actually been seeing a therapist off and on for about 2 years now, and I will have to say is probably one of the best things I've ever done for my own mental health.
Yeah.
I often say this. I don't care if you're the Pope. I don't care if who you are.
Right.
I think therapy can definitely improve and help us because we're all struggling in some ways. But
Right.
let's go back to what I remember you telling me this, and I was just so shocked. So you were a police officer for how long in Oakland, California?
I was in Los Angeles.
So you're in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And so how long were you there?
I started in 07 when I came back from my deployment. So June of 07 until we moved here in, what was that, 2022? The end of 2022, I started with Ada, or it was 2021. It started with Ada 2022.
So this is COVID. This is right in the midst of the COVID era.
Yeah.
So at that time, you're in LA.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, okay, this is kind of dangerous.
Right.
What you're seeing, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. I was there 14 years. So
14 years and like, I got to get out. Is that what you're thinking?
And to like circle back, we were going to probably 3 years before that. So probably right before the pandemic had hit. And then I just kind of got cold feet with retirement and was like, oh, I have it pretty good here, and then pandemic hit and then, a lot of political stuff, the shot, this and that. And it was just like schools were changing. And it was like, nope, we've got to get out of here.
So do you have family in Idaho?
No, we don't.
So, okay.
No.
So why did you pick Idaho? I mean, you basically could have picked the entire country.
You're right. So there was a lot of people that were chatting about it at work, like Idaho. And I was like, man, being in the military, I'd been in a lot of states and I was like, man, I've never even heard of Idaho really. And I was like, what is the, big talk about? So it was, I think it was 2019, week of 4th of July. We drove up here July 5th and we were going down State Street and I felt like this guy was going to steal my wallet. Like he's like really close to me. And I was like, man, this is really strange. And he comes up to me and he's just like, hey man, I just want to see how your 4th of July was. And what did you guys do? Did you guys come down State Street and see the fire trucks and the kids play with the water guns? I'm like, who are you? What do you want from me? And it was just one thing after another here. Like we're getting coffee and they wanted to ask how my day was. And I was just like, can I just get my cup of coffee and go, please? But I'm for real. It was just so surreal.
So it was
that-
a totally different experience than what you
yeah.
were
So,
experiencing.
but, yeah, so there was a few cops that had been talking about it, lateraled up here. I picked their brain like, oh, how amazing is it? And that's how we got to 2019. I started applying. I did get cold feet. The pandemic happened, and then we ended up moving though. Ada County Sheriff's Office contacted me and said, "Hey, we still have your resume because of COVID. We're trying to reach out to people to see if they're still interested." And I was like, "Man, this is a sign. Like, you know what? Yes, I'm gonna reapply, and then here we are." So, but
So you pack your bags, you move to a state you have no one you know other than maybe some cops that from the LA
right,
area. Is that pretty much
yeah,
what it is?
yeah.
Um, is one of the reasons why you picked Idaho is that you felt like it was a safer place for
Oh,
your kids?
100%. I mean, I talked to some of the cops and they're like, honestly, man, if you could just go around and wave, like a lot of times they're gonna be pretty happy. Like, and it's just way safer. You know, there's no violence, and I'm thinking, this is amazing. I'm going to violent calls, 7 times a day. We'd log in and our boxes would just boom, 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 and it's just like you got to prioritize which call you're gonna go to, and yeah, it became, it was a lot, and I was working a ton at the time and it was really taking a toll on my family. I was at mandatory overtime like crazy. I was missing sporting events and the kids were getting older. So,
How bad is the gang violence in LA?
um, it's just as you would picture it. And, you know, um, it's funny when they kind of joke about that we have gangs here. We have nothing compared to what it's something else in LA. So,
Yeah,
I mean, we have special task force for it in the jails, on the streets,
it
and we can't keep up.
it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So you move your family to Idaho. You are working with the Ada County Sheriff's Office. Um, Tell us about the night of the incident and what happened.
Yeah. So it was Easter. I just moved to graveyard shift, which is like nights.
So
Um,
you've been here how long?
oh gosh, only a year and 3 months maybe.
Okay.
Um, so still new to the area, trying to, uh, get used to like land navigation and stuff like that. I knew how to be a cop, but like figuring out where calls were at and stuff like that, and a few different laws that are a little different. But yeah, it's Easter.
Okay. I don't want to forget this, by the way.
Yeah.
I want to make sure, and Nate, make sure you tell me. I want to make sure and talk about cop psychology at the end of this, okay?
Yeah.
Because I really want to kind of,
Yeah.
I just want to pick your brain about
Yeah.
that. But anyways, okay, keep going. So it's Easter.
It's Easter, so it was my last day. So it's Sunday, but it's my Friday, so I would have had Monday through Friday off. And so I'm trying to stay up all day. It's so funny too because Brie and I will go look back at pictures. This is when you were sleeping. I was like, I'm taking these pictures. What are you talking about? Your mom's there. You're there. I'm taking the picture. No one else.
So you have family in town.
So her mom ended up moving out here a year after we
Okay.
did.
Okay.
But yeah. So it's Easter. I know I'm exhausted. I probably got a couple hours of sleep. And then I go in for my shift and as a team, I'm working South County, and we're a pretty new team, but super friendly, and we all wanted to go and get Easter dinner. So it's what 2 o'clock in the morning. It was 1:30 at the time, and we're going over to California Mexican. Irony, huh?
Mhm.
And so only place open on Easter at 1:30 in the morning. We're gonna go get some tacos. I make it to somewhere around 5 Mile and gosh, I can't remember the cross street, and the tone alert goes out basically saying there's an emergent call. I wasn't initially assigned to the call, but I read it and I was like, okay, I'm gonna assign myself to this. Everybody on our team is kind of a assigning it, and it was basically a gentleman or two gentlemen walking on the I-84 and impeding traffic. A semi truck had called it in saying he almost hit two guys on bicycles on the freeway. So
I'm a truck driver, and while I was driving, there's two people dressed in black in the middle of the freeway, and they were like standing right in the middle, and I had to purposely not hit them. I don't know what their intentions are. They're calling in to, try to see if I can help them, whatever.
Okay, yeah. How long ago did you see this?
10 seconds ago?
How many?
10 seconds ago or so?
10 seconds? Okay.
Yeah, and I'm following another semi. He's in front of me, and he had a swerve too. That's one reason why I saw him.
We start rolling code 3, so lights and sirens out to the I-84, basically out to like the truck stop there. It's just west of there, and
on the freeway.
On the freeway. So
what truck stop again?
Oh gosh, I think it's way out I-84. It's probably
going towards Mountain Home.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
There's really nothing there. And so we go on scene, and we see the gentleman, and we can immediately identify like he doesn't want to go to the program, meaning like he just doesn't want to cooperate.
How many of you are there at this time?
There's 4 deputies on scene, and we're all trying to make a conversation with him. We all just want to help him. We just want to get him off the freeway. So
he's in the freeway at this point.
Yeah, we don't want him to get hurt or somebody else to get hurt. I mean, the speed limit out there at that point is 80 miles per hour. So,
yeah.
And you've seen people go way faster than that.
Well, hey, you can't be walking on the freeway, bro. Let's talk about it. Hey, how about you drop the bike? Let's talk about it. Yeah, I might be able to give you a ride. Okay, come talk with me. You have any weapons on you? What do you have? Okay, keep your hands out of your pocket.
So, at that time, it'd probably been several minutes goes by, and we decide, we need to go hands-on and kind of go from there.
We need to go hands-on.
Yeah. Hey, Carlson, you guys come run, and Nelson and I will take hands-on with them. Okay? Hey, Nelson, you and me?
Yeah.
Let's roll.
So I go make contact with him first. We have our little team set up. And when I went to go put hands on him, he was wearing a long army jacket, and I didn't see anything that would have been alarming at this point. I've done several takedowns in my career. I've been, a cop now for 17 years, at that time 15. And I was like, I go to take him down, and it's kind of a blur now. Now I've watched body cam video, but he had a knife. It was very large. It was probably about this long. And
was it hidden under the coat?
He had it. Afterwards, I found out it was on his belt in a sheath, and so he didn't have it out until we hit the ground, and it was on the ground.
Jared, stop! Show me your hands! Show me your hands!
Derek, I see it. Put it down. Put it down.
Hey, I'm not gonna tell you again. Put your down. Put your down now. Now. Put your down. Put it down. Yeah, I see it. Put it down. Put it down. Put it down. Okay, jumping out. Jared!
Jared, stop! Show me your hands! Show me your hands!
Kids, move up. Jared!
I see it. Put it down. Put it down. Put it down.
You got a knife! Knife!
And it ended up going through my hand on both sides. It severed 3 tendons on um, my left hand, my pinky, my ring, and my middle, and then same thing on the other side. And then I got stabbed 2 more times in my buttocks area, and that severed my colon and rectum. I didn't even really have an idea at that time how bad everything was, and in the
Did you know that you were getting stabbed at this point?
I don't remember. And I've been told by therapists, our brains, block that out
Hmm.
for our safety and stuff. So I, what I remember is pulling him down and then shooting up. And so in the midst of all that, I'm being brutally attacked, and my partners see it, and they end up shooting, and I get shot also. But I would not be here talking to you if they hadn't have done that.
You
So
got shot twice.
so so it was both legs. It ended up, from what I've been told, it was the same round. It went in my right calf, came out my right calf, and lodged into my left knee.
Mm.
So I shot up, and I remember looking at my buddy, and I said, "Man, I think I just got shot." And he's like, "Yes, Todd, and you've been stabbed multiple times. We need to get you out of here." And the week prior to that, we had just done a significant training for something like this. We go through all kinds of training, and I knew medical. We probably rolled code for 15 minutes to get to him. So now an ambulance was going to get notified, have to get alerted, start making their way out, and then we're talking another 30, 40 minutes. I was like, I didn't know how badly,
But you're
um,
bleeding pretty
but
bad.
I'm bleeding pretty bad. And so I was like, nope, we're going to get in the Tahoe. And that's what we had just talked about the week prior in class, was like, evacuating yourself, in a Tahoe, and then trying to assess. So I was kind of in and out. I didn't do a phenomenal job of assessing myself. I remember thinking to myself, honestly, it was getting really cloudy in my vision, and I was just like, I don't think I'm going to make it. I really don't know the significance of my injuries. I can see my hand, and it's bleeding profusely. I can feel the wetness in my pants from the blood, and
So the gentleman, they took care of the threat.
yeah, he remained on scene. They performed life-saving measures, and he was pronounced at the hospital.
Okay.
Actually, I was transported by my partner, and funny story, we all joke about it. He had just gotten a Dutch Bros electric berry, I think is the flavor. They call it the Todd Nelson now, but I was just so thirsty, and I'm thinking about, and it's a Red Bull. I don't care. And he's on the phone with sergeants and other people, and I just guzzle this thing. I was so thirsty, and it probably was not the best thing to do. I remember when emergency doctor's like, "When's the last time you ate?" I haven't. We were on our way to get tacos, but I did have a Red Bull. Why would you do that? I don't know, sir. But yeah, so
But at the time, it was.
I was just so thirsty, and I didn't. Again, I was like kind of in and out of what I presume consciousness. I don't know. Again, I was losing so much blood. And then I frantically was looking for my cell phone, and I had actually left it in my Tahoe. So I remember I always had my
What
work
hospital
phone.
did they take you
St. Al's.
to? St.
downtown.
Al's.
Yeah.
Okay. Emergency.
Yeah. And so I did have my work phone, and I remember calling Brianna, and I left the world's worst message, because I think I called 2 or 3 times, and she's dead asleep. And I tell her what has happened, basically, and that I love her, and I'm not sure if I'm going to make it at that point. Yeah, absolutely terrible thing to do. But I was like, I have to say I love you again. Like I didn't know what was going on, and we ended up making it to Orchard, and we get off the freeway there.
So in your mind, at least at this point of your recollection, you're thinking that.
I'm never gonna see my wife and kids again.
Wow.
Yeah. And so yeah, again, not my finest moment, but I had to say it. And then so we get off at Orchard, and we meet the ambulance there, and they start assessing me, and I remember just getting so grouchy and grumpy, and because I just wanted to go to the hospital. I'm thinking, why are we sitting here for so long? And I've since met the paramedics that were on scene with me, and we've joked about it, but I was a real butthead that day just because I wanted to get out of there. And
So the
remember,
paramedics met you
yeah,
at that point,
yeah, we had coordinated that.
and you're like, just get me to the hospital.
Please get me to the hospital. And thinking, man, I'm on the rookie bus, and we've joked about it, since. And it actually was the driver's. I think he said his third day. So it was like, and we've joked, like, it was just so surreal. And I don't think he had ever had a code run or something like that. His training officer had said, or it was one of the craziest ones, obviously, already on his third day. And so again, I'm kind of woozy on that and stuff. We get to the hospital, and I just repeatedly was asking for Brianna. And there were some people at the agency I had barely met. Like, I remember there was a captain inside the emergency room, another sergeant, and I'm like, where is Bree? And her story in itself is crazy. I mean, she gets, a knock at the door, and sees
At what time?
it's probably at 2:30 now, and is frantic. And at that point, we don't have anybody here, or her mom might have moved here, but she's out in Payette, so she's an hour away,
Oh,
wake
wow.
up time. So the deputy is like, who can I go and knock on the door? You need to go to the hospital right now. Like, I don't know Todd's status, but you need to go now, and we need to leave somebody with the kids. Kids are sleeping. And Bree was just like, what? Like, what? I'm trying to wake up right now, and Todd's hurt? No, and yeah, so she comes, I get to kiss her and say I love you, and the doctor comes and says to me at the same time, uh, I think he said it more politically correct and all I can think of, I'm getting a poop bag. I'm getting a poop bag. I looked at Bree and I said, I'm getting a poop bag. But I think he, said my, colon was severed and my rectum was severed. And, he was very sorry that I was going into surgery. And then I don't remember about waking up, like, I think a day and a half, 2 days later. And at that point, Bree's just explaining to me the amount of surgeries I've had, what's really going on. I wake up to people from LA County here, Ada County people here in my emergency room, and I'm like, where am I right now? It was insane.
Sounds surreal at
Yeah.
that point, right? And so, so St. Al's, you
Yeah.
got to have a great love for them.
Yeah. Oh, huge, humongous. I've gone back, and it was so wild. I didn't know the initial doctor that worked on me, and I think probably 8 months later, I'm there for a follow-up for my ostomy bag and such. And Bree was like, hey, that's the first doctor that ever worked on you. And I said, you're kidding me. And she goes, no, that's the ER doctor that basically saved your life. And I go running up, and I'm bawling, and he doesn't remember me. Obviously, sees probably a million patients, but I briefly tell him and stuff like that. And that was a super surreal moment for me. Like, he definitely saved my life that night. I know he struggled with it. I think telling Bree, like, there's nothing more I could do at one point, because my insides were so bad when I got my colon severed. Obviously, stuff went everywhere, and they ended up having to call in a colorectal doctor specialist to come in and basically work on me. And clean it up, and then give me the ostomy bag and go from there. So, yeah.
So, first of all, you're 2 days later,
Yeah.
right? I remember the thought I had. I don't think we realize, being in this area, the quality of doctors that we have here.
Yeah.
And people are like, Idaho,
Right.
Idaho. No, we have some of the best in the world.
Yeah.
And just like your reason, they want a good place for their families to live.
Right.
And what a privilege it is to, I love Idaho.
Yeah.
It is home. We've been here 30 years. I can't imagine being anywhere else, but we've been through the medical field as well with, one of our sons had open heart surgery at 2 days old or 3 days old. And you look at this and you just realize the quality of the medical that we have here. And I hate to do this, but it is second to none because we'll have more people coming here.
Yeah.
From one patient told me the Cal states. You know what the Cal states are?
No.
California, Oregon, and Washington. Just if you come, realize why you're coming. But
Right.
anyways, we're grateful that you're here. But all right, let's finish with this story and what
Yeah.
happens. So you wake up.
Yeah. So I wake up. They haven't even worked on my hand yet because they were so worried about my insides and getting that all fixed. I think they quickly were able to go in and remove the bullet from my left knee, clean out my right leg. It was pretty much just a through and through on my right calf, and then it cracked my femur on my left knee.
9 millimeter.
Yes, and then gosh, yeah, I stayed in the hospital from April 10th. It was a couple weeks, I would say. I had the surgery on my left hand. That was like several days. They just stitched it up. I can't remember. Bree had counted. I think it was somewhere in like the 50 range of stitches on my hand, and then they went back in and basically repaired the tendons as best as they could. And again, I can't make a full fist, but she even was like, not to brag, but I did an awesome job. And I was like,
Your hand
yes,
surgeon?
yeah, yes, you did. And
Who was that?
Kara, gosh, at the hand center, put me on the spot. Lordson? Oh man, goodness
A great
gracious.
hand
A
surgeon.
great hand
There you go.
surgeon. They were all amazing, and even when I went to rehab for my hand, they were amazed how far it had come because of the severity of the tendons that were severed. I remember talking to Stacy and Reed, who were my occupational therapists for my hand, and I did that for just over a year. And I remember Reed saying, Todd, I'll be honest with you, I never thought we were going to be able to get your hand this far. Like they really thought it was going to be pretty much stopped there. It was pretty wild. For like 6 months, it didn't, and then all of a sudden we were able to get the tendons moving, and it's quite the miracle, really.
Sounds like you had a lot of prayers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a walking miracle itself, right?
Yeah. So,
okay, so you go through, you didn't want a poop bag.
no, I who does? And it was hilarious when that nurse, there's only one at St. Nels. I think he was saying that they were in the process of getting another, but he's like had the coolest, driest humor. Like he's like, I'm sorry, but I've got to, exactly what it is, job, and I, at the moment you don't want to laugh because I'm just like trying to process everything, but I get it. He's just trying to be funny too, and he was just explaining how difficult it is, minus all my other injuries, like just in general, how difficult it is to then now have an ostomy bag. And he's trying to explain how I'm going to do changes, and I'm like, hey sir, my hand doesn't work. So then Bree's over here, she's got a scribe trying to do notes, and we're just like, what is going on? You know what I mean? There's just so much to it, like the different layers and cleaning it and making sure it's clean, and then the special cuts for the bag, and then all the different materials or companies that you can use, and the rashes that come with it, and this and that, and I think I went through 3 different ones, and sure enough, you start beginning to get rashes because it's just an adhesive, and you're pulling that off, and then, you got poop underneath it, and it's just like it was unbelievable, but
And
that
you
man was incredible too, like, yeah.
and so he brought some levity, some humor to it that
Right.
yeah, at that point you probably wasn't too appreciative of it.
No, oh, and I told him. I think multiple times. He probably read it all over my face, and he's like, "Oh, you're much better." I have one guy that won't even look at me when I come in to talk to him about it. Doesn't want to look at his ostomy, nothing. I was just like, "Well, I was pretty much there." You know what I mean? Like, um, it just is. It's crazy to like look down and basically see this is now where I'm going to the bathroom out my stomach, and so much crosses your mind. This is embarrassing. How am I going to go out? It's a lot to process. And like I said, I'm still going through the ringer of all this other stuff, and then I'm on all these medications because I'm still going through surgeries and stuff like that. So it was just playing mind games with me a lot.
So you said something I thought was pretty sweet. I I said that I think your wife is amazing, and you said that you said basically talked about your vows. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we were in the car, and yeah, it's like in sickness and health, you say it in your vows, and she really, boy, Brianna is something else. And you said it too. I mean, she really is something special. We've been married for 13 years. She made it really special and easy for me. We got married on 9/10/11,
Oh wow.
and but when I say it's the most degrading thing to have somebody clean up after you in the bathroom as a man. It is. And uh, as much as I didn't want it to happen, she didn't skip a beat in the grossest moments of it all. And um, yeah, there was never a complaint. She almost missed it, she said, when I got it reversed. Wild, because it brought us
Oh,
closer.
so she, wow.
Yeah,
Okay, that's pretty amazing.
yeah,
So you had a reversal
I did.
so that you could get rid of the colostomy bag.
Yeah. So initially, we went in October. I was told he told Bree right out the get go. Amazing man, Dr. Ditani, told her, "I'm sorry. I don't think that he'll ever not have the bag." That I was severed so badly. It left me with only 2 centimeters of my rectum. And he's just like, I don't think I can reverse that. It's not enough. And if I do, it might just it could be terrible. And we spoke many times over the next several months, and I told him I think we have to try. You know what I mean? And he goes, okay, we can try. And in October we had an surgery, and he kind of played it safe. He reconnected the colon and the rectum where it was severed, and then we let it heal for 3 months, and then he gave me an ileostomy, which is just higher up on the intestines, and I live with that. And boy, we ever joke. I go, well, I sure am thankful for the ostomy now, because the ileostomy is out of this world. And same thing. He's got silly humor and got it, and it's just like uh, I I I I just I got into all these group chats and stuff to try and deal with it. It was pretty surreal. My middle child Bryce's kindergarten teacher got diagnosed with cancer, and we reconnected because she ended up having to get an ostomy bag. And I just couldn't believe how many thousands upon thousands of people have them, and people don't even notice. It's wild. But that's all you can think of. Like, I'm talking every time I went out. I remember Tam and she had a father-daughter dance, and I was just having a heart attack because I didn't know where to position it in a suit, and I was freaking out, and it got bad anxiety, and it was just like I kind of had to get that silly humor and just kind of make fun of it and, get a Dallas Cowboy cover. You know what I mean? And just, you know, yes, this is where I poop now, like, we're right, on it and stuff like that. I remember writing on it when Datani did his first surgery and just thanking him and for even attempting it. And uh, it did become like a part of me. And then uh, I definitely don't miss it, but I do have the giant scar to remind me, and I rub it from time to time, and I'm just so grateful that I'm still here. And um, I I I feel like I just have gained a lot more respect and stuff for myself. I've learned a lot. It was a horrible, horrible tragedy, but again, like my wife kind of put it, it brought us closer.
Oh, boy, I can see that.
Yeah.
And like I said, I I now know your family and what a beautiful family you have. Beautiful wife. Um, she is all she wants is the best for your family, and it's you're a very lucky man.
Yeah, I sure am. I
In,
really
in many different ways. So you go through all of this trauma. You had the colostomy, bag. Um, you still were able to get through all of that.
Yeah.
And then how long after that before we met?
Ooh, goodness. Um, it was probably almost right at the 1 year mark, I would say. I know because our procedure was in June.
Mhm.
But I know it was several months before that. It had to been right around February, March, or April. It was really close to my 1 year anniversary.
So your wife ends up telling me about your scenario with all that you went through.
Yeah.
And then she tells me about your trauma with your teeth.
Yeah.
Tell
Yeah.
me tell me about the trauma with your
That
teeth.
was something I hadn't processed either. It was something I came to my therapist about and uh, started talking about you and what you wanted to, do. And um, so my mom, I don't even know what it would be called or diagnosed with, but that she didn't have multiple adult teeth in her molars. And I pretty much inherited that, but mine uh, were more in the front. And I was told at a young age that my teeth would start falling out at 30. Like there was no way that baby teeth could say that they're adult teeth and I had nothing behind. And I didn't really understand. I was like 10, 8, 9, 10. And so my parents are trying to explain it to me too. And I'm not understanding, why do I not? Everybody else has adult teeth. Why am I not getting them? And then years go by. My parents got divorced when I was 10, so finances became an issue also. Dentistry was not anywhere where it is now either. Um, I went to the military and they wanted to pull them, and I was like, timeout, absolutely not.
They wanted to pull all of them?
Well, they're like, these are baby teeth, and I go, yeah, I know they are, but there's nothing behind them, so you're not touching them. And I joked about it with Marjorie because she's like, yeah, I worked for military, my husband's military, and that's what they want to do. That's the problem solver.
Yeah,
Start
just take
pulling.
them out, right?
And I was like, no, we're not doing that.
And I guess the reason why is they don't want you to have a problem if you're in the field, right?
Correct.
So it's almost like, hey, we don't
Almost
care
like
whether
a liability.
yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, nope, it's not happening. I have the X-rays to show there's nothing underneath. We're not pulling them. And so I was able to keep them. I got a job with LA County and got benefits because at that time I was working for Albertsons. I don't even know if I was honestly going to the dentist all that much. It was like you were saying about my daughter, how anxiety went through the roof. I didn't want to go and hear the horror stories and stuff. So kind of stayed away, got dental insurance on my own and went. So I remember, I think I was like, 21, 22. And I finally was like, can I get some braces? Because at that time I had gotten a few adult teeth. So then the spacing started becoming a huge problem. It was just, my confidence was tanking. I was working at the jail, I had all these baby teeth. So I don't even know what dentist I went to, and I was like, look, what can we do? And that's when I started getting told, you're going to start losing them, so we can start pulling them and basically give you partials. And I was, well, what's a partial? Like, I don't understand this. And, oh, it's kind of a retainer. We'll put some teeth in. I was like, well, can I eat with that? No, not really. You're going to have to take them out. What? So then I'm left with like 4 teeth to like eat with?
Yeah.
And
So describe that. You had your 2 front teeth.
right.
Okay. I think you had some molars in the
Yeah,
back.
so I had the 2 molars. Initially, when this dentist, he just pulled, I want to say 4. And so I just had 4. And then I went to another dentist when it got with, was married to Bree. She brought me to a new dentist, and that's when it was like even more so like, hey, we should pull the rest of these. And then it's when I got the metal one,
Mhm.
and that one, they're like, hey, you should be able to eat with this one. But yeah, backing it up, I remember I think I was dating Bree at the time, and it was just like, or even dating in general, it's like, oh gosh, what am I going to chance it? Am I going to break these teeth? Or am I going to pull them out and slide them into my little retainer pocket and then try and eat, not try and smile while I'm eating, and then try and throw them back in
with
without anybody noticing.
with like 2 teeth in the front.
Right.
I mean, you just had these 2.
Correct.
You had the 2 in the back, so a total of 4 teeth completely on the
Yeah.
top. And the biggest mistake that your dentist made, just to let you know, that was the worst thing they could have done, is to remove those teeth.
Yeah.
So if you remove baby teeth, you actually are removing the blood supply to the root structure, which then the bone resorbs. And that's what happened to you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you had tremendous amount of bone resorption. You had 6 teeth on the bottom, and then you had 2 molars in the back.
Right.
So when I saw you, you had a lot of bone resorption, and you had a
Right.
lot of bone issues.
And I do remember getting told that, like, oh, you don't have enough bone for implants. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you're the doc. Like, who am I to say, no, let's try? Like, and I was just like, okay. And I remember it was like super emotional. And I didn't even like that. Bree would always be in the room because she, I'm her husband. She's, worried about me. And I'm thinking, this is like my worst nightmare. Like, I never, no one ever knew except for my parents, really. I didn't tell, so huge problem for me, all growing up, getting called baby teeth and stuff like that. And yeah, it was a huge problem for me. Huge. And then Bree always was just like, it doesn't matter. I don't care, and then it became a financial thing, it was just like we were starting our lives, she was working a ton, I was working a ton, and I was like, I'm not gonna spend money on my teeth now. Like, let's just do the bare bones. And that's when they said, well, we can do it that with the metal whatever went across the top of my roof, and you'll be able to eat with that. And I was like, that sounds like a win for me, you know what I mean? And at the time, it was. I remember I was extremely thankful. I still paid a ton of money and stuff, but I was just like, this is way better than what I was working with before. And at least now I can feel safe enough that I can eat and I don't have to remove them. And now the only time I have to remove my teeth is when I go to bed. They told me, hey, use the denture stuff, leave them in there. But then the other problem I was running into is then they started to shift at night. So
Yeah, and so what happens is the bone resorbs the rest of your life.
yeah.
And so what people don't understand is that your bone, if this is the cheek and this is the tongue, as soon as you remove even a baby tooth or anything, what ends up happening is you lose 4 millimeters within the first 6 months, 2 millimeters from the side, so 4 millimeters from the sides, 1 millimeter from the top, and then you end up with less and less and less bone. And I often say teeth is kind of like a fence post. The more dirt around your fence post, the better it is. Well, it's the same with implants.
Yeah.
I need as much dirt as I possibly can. And when you came in, so to back up, your wife ends up telling me about your situation. You meet with Marjorie. I come and meet with you. And then what happens?
He basically told me how I kind of been screwed over the years, and that there was something that you could do. And then you basically went into like, and I knew it was, I was like, yeah, that sounds magnificent, but there's no way in the world I'm gonna be able to afford that, sir. Like, that sounds great. I have 3 kids, and you know what? I'm okay. I'm okay with the way how horrible my teeth are. And you're just like, no, no, you don't understand. Because of what you went through, whew, and I lost it that day, and you said, I want to, you told me you wanted to give back.
I did. I did, and I still do.
Yeah.
This is
And I just I couldn't believe it. Because it's something that has bothered me my entire life.
so. Here's what I did, and it's not just all me. There's a big team
Oh,
approach,
huge.
right?
Huge team. Amazing team.
So I called a company called Biotech. Biotech is actually a company out of France. They're the largest one in Europe, implant company. It's an incredible company. I've been working with them for a long time. So I gave them a call and I said, here's the situation. Without even a question, boom, all implants, all parts, free.
Okay.
Then I called the lab that I've used for the last 27 years, which did all of the cosmetic work. They did it all for free.
Yeah.
And that was Utah Valley Dental Lab out of Provo, Utah.
Right.
Joe, you did an amazing job, like you always do. And the rest of the team did too. It wasn't even a question. They're willing to be able to do that. There's a lot of people that are willing to be able to, and I wish I could do more of this. This is the
Yeah.
stuff I love.
Right.
So what did we do? Tell
Oh,
people
man.
what did we do? First of all, let me tell you what most would do with implants. I don't know that you even understand.
I don't think I do. I don't.
So you had 2 teeth in the front.
Right.
The majority of people would do what's called an all-on-4. So an all-on-4 is where they actually will take and they'll remove about 10 millimeter. They would have taken your 2 teeth out. They would have removed about 10 millimeters of your bone. How old are you?
Oh, 39 now. Yeah.
Okay. So they would remove 10 millimeters of bone. Then what they would have done is and the reason for that is they would want to give you the pink porcelain teeth.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be pink porcelain. So it looks like your gum tissue. And you just have a denture rim that's connected to your implants. The problem with that is a couple things. Number one is you're 39.
Yeah.
I remove 10 millimeters of bone, 15 millimeters of bone. I place these implants. What if you have problems 20 years down the road?
Right.
Now you even have less bone. So we didn't want to do that. We wanted to keep, you had very little bone anyways.
Right.
I wanted to keep as much bone as you can. The other thing is that there is something psychological about keeping what you already have, what God gave you.
Right.
You had 2 good teeth right in the front. So it was a much more difficult procedure. We did what's called all-in implants, where we actually take and we created sockets for you, and we made the teeth go into your sockets so you don't have pink tissue.
Right.
I think we did 8 implants on the top, and then I think we did 4 implants on the bottom.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that right?
Yeah.
But every single tooth is new.
Yeah, it's wild. It's very surreal. I remember when, gosh, I'm trying to remember the first meeting. We kind of went over it, and I couldn't believe it. And then I remember that gosh, it was probably in April or May. You gave me like it was just the mold, right? And
Yeah.
we went in there, and
But that
you're
was
like,
the try-in.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, this is what we're looking at. And I just remember like holding up the mirror, and I was like looking at a different person, and I like started bawling, and I looked at Bria. I couldn't believe it. And I remember you broke off half, and it was like Two-Face. And I remember thinking, man, that is so wild to see my side and what, I'm going to have. Like, and it was just like, it was unbelievable. I still was like, felt like leaving, like pinching myself, like, Bree, how is this happening? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand, you know? a year ago I'm was not making it, and now I'm gonna get new teeth from this. I didn't know. I didn't even know how to even take it in initially. It was unbelievable. And like you said, your team is just out of this world. I today just even walking in there, how excited they are for me.
Well, they are. We talk about you a lot. We see your photographs, and we see the progression of where you're at. In fact, one of my team members goes, "I think this is my favorite one we've ever done."
It's crazy.
But now what you have is you have new teeth,
I do.
and it's not just 4 implants.
No.
You got you've got actual teeth.
Yes, I do. I do. And it's unbelievable. I mean, yeah, so we did the initial procedure in June. I remember I was getting my second knee surgery, a year and some odd 4 months after. I don't know if I even talked to you about it, but I remember talking to my knee doctor. I was like, I'm having this huge dental procedure done, and I also have you in the same week. She's like, oh, I think it'll be fine. And I was like, "Oh, okay, sounds good to me. I don't want to say no to him, and can't say no to you." And yeah, I don't know if that was the best, but so I came and I saw you, and gosh, this session was what, like 6 hours,
Yeah.
and then I think I did my knee, and then I had to come back the following Friday because it was what, 6 hours, and then 5 hours for the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
It's a long process that we had to do for you, but you ended up with that day having your implants, and then you were done with your partial
right.
at that point, but you were in temporaries.
Yeah.
And so that's the way we like to do it, is to be able to give you something, and they look pretty good.
Yeah,
even
no,
as temporaries,
they
right?
were amazing. I was like, man, I could rock these. What do you mean? Yeah. And you know what's crazy is how it was so difficult though. I remember even going to my therapist and like, man, now I feel it's the craziest thing. I want to just smile like crazy, but now I feel so subconscious. Like I've got this beautiful smile, and I feel like I'm not even showing it off enough because I'm so subconscious of how they used to be. Like, and we had to work through that. It's hilarious to think about now, but yeah.
Yeah, I think you said that the trauma that you've been through, you didn't realize that the trauma of all the years of the kids making fun of you,
Yeah.
and now that you've got, I mean, these are yours,
Right.
and they're I hope that they last you the rest of your life, never give you any more problem.
Right.
I just want to let you know, Todd, and from everyone at our office, the whole team, we absolutely love your family, and we wish we could do more. So do not think that. I love the military. I love the men and women in blue.
Yeah.
I had a patient. It was before you came in. It was actually during COVID. It was the craziest thing. We had a patient that came in, and she was had just moved as well, and her husband was a police officer, and her husband had just been to the chiropractor, and it was a weird time. I don't know, or maybe it was just a weird time, and I can't believe it happened in the Boise area, but they found out that her husband was a police officer, and they dismissed her. And I just went, you've got to be kidding. Now, this was during all of the movement and
Right.
anti-police and all of that. So from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of all of, I will say, even the Treasure Valley in Idaho, thank you for your service.
I appreciate that.
And
very
we
much.
really appreciate all that you do for Idaho. And again, if we can bring a smile to your face because you can smile a little bigger,
100%. 100%.
then we're really happy to be
Yeah.
able to do that.
And I haven't. I don't even think I know I've tried. I don't know. I am so beyond thankful for you and your entire team, and I've tried in the silliest little ways and stuff by doing like there's never going to be a way I can repay you. I mean, I'm going to try and smile as much as I can, and just in that way of
That's all
thanking
you have to do.
And honestly, I mean, if anybody's going through anything like this is your man to come to and get help. These things are amazing. And yeah, I had trouble eating things. I had to stay away from foods and stuff like that. And I mean, I feel like it was so funny. You were asking me, how's your bite? And I'm like, man, I'm just like overwhelmed. I've got so many teeth in my mouth now. What do you mean? This is great. Could it be bad? I don't understand. It can't get worse. It was. So
No, we're happy to do that, and we're just happy that that you have a bright spot through all of this trauma that you've been through, and we're happy to be a part of it. Seriously. Okay, I've got questions for you.
Yeah.
Just real fast.
yeah.
All right. You're speeding down the freeway. You get pulled over by you. And what is it, the best thing you can do to get yourself out of a ticket?
Honestly, just staying polite and stuff like that. It's what always would get me worked up is attitudes. Once your attitude changes, and I get it, nobody wants to get pulled over, and Joe Schmo's doing 10 miles per hour faster than me. Why didn't you catch them? Or there's real criminals. Like, why? I understand that. But right now, I saw you going 10 over and I pulled you over. So just, hey, I'm going to give you the respect that I want back.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I'm at, like, let's just be respectful to each other. Right now, you broke the law.
So is it best? Okay, I've heard lots of this is the funniest one I've ever heard. I think it was an actress. She always had a bottle of water, and she would pour the water on her crotch and say, "I just peed my pants." Would that work? Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, are you having medical emergency? Like, what is like?
She's like, I'm so sorry. I had to go to the bathroom. Look what, and she just starts crying.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
You know what's funny is I didn't even like giving a lot of speeding tickets. I don't think I really have. It was a lot more to like talk to people and learn body language, and you can learn a lot from a traffic stop. So it was more of that, and again, like the defensiveness, and you're starting to give tells.
Yeah. I have learned over the years. I've been pulled over a lot of times. It seems like I'm always in a hurry. The number one thing that has worked for me is just like what you just said. Be super courteous.
Yeah.
But the number one, be honest.
I was gonna say, you got to be honest. Hey, yeah, you know what? You got me.
You know what? Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, you know what? I was late for this.
Yeah.
You got me.
Yeah.
And I totally understand, officer.
Yeah.
That's what's worked for me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work.
No. Well, again, we might see that you've had 5 speeding tickets in the last year. That might be like, hey, look, your cute story might have worked the first time, but
yeah. Luckily, I haven't had a speeding ticket in probably 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was just wondering if there was one thing that is going to guarantee you, like, you're going to get a ticket.
Oh yeah, like I said, it's going to be the poor attitude. Like every excuse in the book.
Okay, but it's all over the internet now.
Right.
Everybody is getting their phones out.
No, I know.
And they're
that was super hard to learn at the beginning. Let me tell you, like,
because they're recording you, right?
Oh yeah, my old partner had a situation with that, and it blew up with millions of views and stuff like that. Yeah, you kind of just gotta like, and cop world is wild. I mean, you're always learning and stuff like that. If you're not, then you should get out. But it's just like that was something else. Like, you kind of just have to laugh it off, like, okay, if they're recording you, so am I. Here's my body camera. Like,
yeah, but I imagine if it's immediately just so that they can get views on their own Instagram account, it's not going to go real well. Right. To some extent.
Right. Exactly.
But anyways, well, Todd, again, thank you for your service.
No,
thank you for all that you do.
Thank you for everything that you've done for me and my family. So.
Absolutely. And yeah, and I loved what you said. I am really glad that you found a dental home.
Yeah, I sure did.
And we want to be there for you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.